Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We are in the middle of a really big project on Braxton's Beta 125 two-stroke. We are installing electric start on his bike, which is pretty cool. But that's a separate video. So that's why everything is exploded here, the bike's all apart. And I figured while we were doing this, I'm going to remove the TPS sensor. So TPS Throttle Position Sensor, it's right in the carburetor. Every Beta two-stroke comes with this sensor. None of the race editions use it. The only reason why you would need a TPS sensor is for your oil injection. Not all these bikes have it. So if you want to come in real quick, it is a $35 kit. And this is what it comes with. It comes with this cool little billet. It's got the little B logo on it. And it comes with these two special Allen keys because this one's tamper proof. You can see in the end maybe. It's hard to adjust on iPhones, but tamper proof. And I'm going to clip this on my shirt. So here's Braxton's carburetor. And so what we're doing is we're going to remove this plug. You can see here, we haven't been using, obviously, it's already full of mud. So these sensors are expensive, like 170 bucks. So we're going to take the one Allen key that they give us, and I'm just going to remove it right off the side here. And I'm going to show you maybe more in depth because I think a lot of folks just end up doing this, right? They take this off, they weasel the sensor off, and they think, okay, so keep the camera right there for a second. At this point, you know, you could just shove this right back in on there, right? But there's more to it. There's actually a slide underneath here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this off. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove these two screws here next. So let me get these out of the way. And that's why it's got that tamper proof, because those are needed. I wasn't going to film this, so these are already loose. I was halfway done taking this apart, and I'm like, you know what? I don't think everybody knows this part of the job. They only do the first part. So the reason why you do the rest of this is that makes your throttle pull a lot easier. So I'm going to pull that out. And then now it's kind of loose, but we can't get it out. So what we need is, they don't supply this, but we need a 3mm hex head. And I'm going to get the carburetor right off the bike at this point. So I'm going to spin these loose. What I usually do is I keep my finger down on that because there's a spring under there that's pushing the top of that up. So that spins off. And these bolts in here stay in the cap. Oh, actually these ones don't, do they? Okay, no, these ones do. So you can't lose those bolts. Ooh, and that's what I wanted to show you, is that right there. So let me put this back on here like this. This, we're going to remove all this, and I've already got it loose, so maybe I did it backwards for the example. But you can see this, that's riding on the throttle slide there. And the reason why that slide, it rides on there, is because it's telling, let me just get this right out of the way. When it's riding on there, that's what's telling, we're looking in here at this little guy. You know, as this comes up, as the throttle opens, it's telling it to squirt more oil into the motor. So that's all this does. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sneak this the rest of the way out of here. So I had to take it off because it won't let you twist like this with this slide. How does this go? Maybe. Okay, that is quite the trick to get that apart. So I'm going to get this out of here real quick. So now I set the carburetor down. We need to get this arm off of here. If you look down in here, it's really hard to tell on camera, but there's a C-clip in there that's holding that on there. And if I don't lose it when I do this, I'll be able to show it to you here in a minute. So I'm going to try to separate that C-clip if I can see it down in there. I'm just using two pick tools to try to get that off. Okay, I got it. So, or at least I started it anyway. Okay, I got it. So I'm going to show you this real quick, if it'll focus. I'm going to push out on the lever. So the lever's coming out the backside. So that's just the lever there. Now I'm going to dump out the stuff that's in this side. I don't know if you'll ever get these arms back in. I don't know if I could. So you got the spacer, and there's that C-clip. I kind of ruined that C-clip a little bit, huh? So these parts are going to make it so your throttle's easier to pull, because we're not moving this every time now. Okay, so we got the parts removed, but one more little trick is on the actual sensor. There's this little baby O-ring on here. So if you kind of work it up with your fingers and slide it off, I'm going to keep that. So we're going to use this O-ring on the billet piece that Beta gives us. You can see it's got a groove for it. So we're going to put that on there. I'm going to grab a little bit of grease real quick, and we'll stick this down in there. So we're going to stick this in there, and we're going to use the same bolt that Beta used before for the TPS sensor. It doesn't have to be a different one. So we just kind of work this back in there. So now our TPS sensor block off is complete. We can stick it back on the carburetor. So again, we're going to set that right back on the carb. like that. And we're just gonna use the same 2 bolts that were in there before. Gonna use the other Allen key this time, the silver one. These are the tamper-proof ones, but we're never gonna take it back apart again, so we can leave them tamper-proof. Sometimes we replace tamper-proofs like when we're doing top ends or something, but not necessary with these ones. We'll just snug them down pretty good. So this is always a good time to look into your carburetor, make sure it's clean on both sides. And I just cleaned Braxton's a minute ago. His bike is dirty because he was riding last weekend and I haven't washed it yet, but everything inside here looks really good and clean. Now also, I'm gonna set this down. I've learned with Braxton's 2-strokes, especially his 85s, I always pull the reed block out and I'm checking the pedals on this. So I just had this out. There's 4 bolts on the reed pedal, or the block, and then you can pull it out and you can actually see the pedals, make sure the pedals look good. They're not ripped or torn. A sign of a bad reed pedal is the bike is hard to start. So what we're gonna do now is just finish this, but I always like to check those anytime I have the carburetor off, every 10 hours or so with Braxton. So there's no more slide to worry about picking up because we got rid of it. We're just gonna put the actual carb slide down in, hold it down tight like that, and we're gonna check for motion before we tighten them down. And easier to pull, got rid of that extra drag on there. We're just gonna use our 3mm Allen key and tighten these down. All right guys, that was a really quick install of a TPS delete. We did 2 extra things there. We added the O-ring to the red billet piece. We also removed the actual slide, that the runner that rides on the slide. So my last tidbit here is if you guys are buying your Beta parts on the betausa.com website, if you wouldn't mind picking 3Cs Recreation, like during your account setup, it asks you for your preferred dealer. If you can scroll down to New York and pick 3Cs. Anytime you guys buy parts on there, it helps us make videos like this, all this cool stuff we do for Braxton. This is all kind of like experimental right now. We're kind of buying all these parts. We're gonna try it. We got a 200 in the background that we're using as like a, kind of looking at it for electrical advice. So again, Jared at 3Cs. Hope you guys enjoy the ride. See you in the trail.